So we want to talk a little bit about what constitutes a good deadlift. And could be a half-hour video, and it won't be. But the idea, basically, we used to think about the idea that if you're deadlifting something, the weight is in your hands. Now some people say, Dan John has come up with the idea that deadlifts tend to have more hip movement and less knee movement, and squats tend to have more knee movement and less hip movement. But I think the basic idea for deadlift is that we're going to pick something up off the ground. And what I like to say, if we're going to say what constitutes a good deadlift, so for me, I'm going to start, or I'm going to have somebody start. Actually, I'll go first on kettlebell sumo deadlift. So what I'm looking at is place the kettlebell. You can turn it upside down. Dumbbell is going to be fine. All I want you to do is get to it the easiest way that you can. If you look at me this way, there's probably going to be more hip range than there would be in my squat and less knee than there would be. So obviously I don't want to be back here sitting way back on my heels, dropping that kettlebell back to my heels. I want to just simply reach down to the point where I grab it, stand up with it. I think the nice thing about deadlifting is it's fairly simple. If I reach down to the point where I can grab, I lock my lats in, I lock my back in, boom. That to me is good deadlift. I'm going to go to the end of my kettlebells, to the end of my dumbbells in that sumo range. I'm probably never going to teach anybody conventional barbell deadlift, this type of action where you've got to worry about shins, bar rubbing against your shins. That's not something that we're going to use for anybody, for athlete, golfer. We'll use trap bars later on, which are your hexagonal bars that you can stand inside. That's going to be a better pattern. Or, as I said, we're probably going to start kettlebell deadlifts, dumbbell deadlifts, something along that line. The big thing, you got to be able to touch your toes. If the person can't toe touch, they can't deadlift. If you're looking at it and you can't see some semblance of just a teeny bit of lumbar curve, that person can't deadlift. Don't be having people pick things up off the ground with round backs. That's the first place that you're going to go wrong. Check and see whether they can touch their toes. Check and see whether they can get in that bottom position. And then start with something like dumbbells, like kettlebells.